Dr. Mo was expressionless, his eyes gently half open and half closed, one hand firmly gripping Han Li's wrist. All his attention was focused entirely on the strength of the true qi within Han Li's body, and he did not speak for a long while. After the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, he finally let out a deep breath, as if expelling all the frustration in his heart. His eyes suddenly snapped open, and a streak of sharp light shot out from his murky gaze, making it impossible for others to meet his stare. His face was gloomy, clearly dissatisfied with Han Li, yet he still did not utter a word of reprimand. He merely waved his hand coldly, signaling Han Li to follow him. Han Li obediently trailed behind him. Although he was quite interested in the mysterious man beside them, he knew this was not the time to ask questions recklessly. After entering the room, Dr. Mo sat wearily into a grand master chair, his back pressed tightly against the backrest as he half sat, half reclined. The sharp glint in his eyes had already faded, returning him to the appearance of a long-term invalid. The mysterious man had followed closely behind him without leaving a single step. After he sat down, the man stood behind the chair, motionless like a statue. Han Li knew Dr. Mo was in a foul mood and did not want to provoke him, so he also refrained from speaking. Like the mysterious man, he walked to the center of the room, faced Dr. Mo with his head lowered, and quietly waited for him to speak. After a long while, no one said a word. Han Li grew somewhat puzzled and could no longer hold back his curiosity, secretly trying to lift his head to glance at Dr. Mo. "Look if you want to. Why are you being so sneaky?" Dr. Mo's cold voice suddenly rang out just as Han Li had raised his head halfway. Han Li froze for a moment, then obediently raised his head. His gaze swept across Dr. Mo's face a few times before quickly withdrawing again. His expression remained unchanged, but inside, his heart was already churning like a stormy sea. Dr. Mo's face had turned eerily strange. His somewhat pallid complexion was faintly covered by a layer of faint black qi. That black qi seemed almost alive, extending countless tiny tendrils that danced wildly across his face. Even more alarming to Han Li was the fact that Dr. Mo no longer carried his usual rigid, lifeless demeanor. Instead, he wore a ruthless, decisive expression, staring at Han Li with ill intent. A hint of mocking ridicule curled at the corner of his mouth. Han Li felt something was wrong. A sense of unease rose in his heart, and a faint aura of danger began to spread through the room. He cautiously took half a step back and slipped his hand into his sleeve, gripping an iron cylinder hidden there. Only then did his tense nerves ease slightly. At that moment, Dr. Mo's low mocking voice reached his ears. "A little cleverness, and you dare to show off?" Dr. Mo moved. In an eerie motion, he shifted from a half-reclined position to standing upright. After a cold laugh, his figure flickered, and like a ghost, he appeared right beside Han Li, staring at him with a sinister heh laugh. Han Li's expression changed drastically. Realizing something was wrong, he hurriedly tried to raise his arm, but his body went numb and he could no longer move. Only then did he notice that the other party had withdrawn his finger from a pressure point on his chest. It was simply too fast. He had not sensed the slightest movement. "Dr. Mo, what are you trying to do? If I've done something wrong, please say so. Why seal my acupoints?" Han Li could no longer maintain his usual composure and forced a strained smile. Dr. Mo said nothing. He merely pounded his back a few times and let out a light cough, appearing like a frail, elderly man on the verge of collapse. But having just witnessed his swift and decisive strike, how could Han Li still treat him as an ordinary sick old man? This act only made him even more wary. "Dr. Mo, what is your identity? There is no need to hold a junior disciple to the same standards. Please release my acupoints. Whatever punishment you wish to impose, I will accept it all." Han Li continued speaking several flattering and ingratiating sentences, but Dr. Mo paid him no attention. Instead, he reached into Han Li's sleeve and pulled out the iron cylinder, holding it in his hand while watching Han Li's performance with a mocking, contemptuous gaze. Seeing this, Han Li's heart sank to its lowest point. Any remaining hope of using words to move the other party was completely extinguished. It was clear that the other side would not give him even the slightest opportunity. Han Li gradually closed his mouth. His expression calmed as he returned a cold, emotionless gaze toward Dr. Mo. In an instant, everything in the room seemed to freeze. Not a sound could be heard, and the atmosphere became as still as the calm before a storm. Good, good, good. Dr. Mo suddenly blurted out 3 goods. Truly worthy of being someone I, Mo Jiren, have taken a fancy to. Even now you remain calm and unflustered under pressure. The money I spent on you was not wasted. He praised Han Li all at once. What exactly do you intend to do with me? Han Li ignored Dr. Mo's words and instead asked directly. How to deal with you? Dr. Mo casually repeated Han Li's question without committing to any answer. How to deal with you will depend on how you perform yourself. What do you mean? Han Li frowned slightly, vaguely guessing part of the other's intentions. If I don't say it, with your intelligence, you should still be able to understand a bit, shouldn't you? I can only guess a small part, but I still don't understand the full sequence of events, the causes and consequences. Han Li did not deny it and admitted it frankly. Good, that's the right attitude. If you have any questions, just ask me directly. Don't keep everything bottled up. Dr. Mo gave a sinister smile, the black chi on his face seeming to thicken another layer, making his features even more ferocious. I know you've always been on guard against me and never truly treated me as your master. But that doesn't matter. I've never truly treated you as my disciple either. Dr. Mo let out a cold snort. How old do you think I am? The muscles on his face twitched a few times as he stiffly asked an unrelated question. From your appearance, you look to be around 60 or so. But since you're asking this, your real age probably doesn't match your appearance. Are you much older or younger than that? Han Li felt somewhat puzzled inwardly, but his tone remained calm as he replied evenly. TSK. Truly worthy of someone who has cultivated the eternal spring art. A brat from the countryside transformed into such a sharp and intelligent young man. Dr. Mo kept exclaiming in admiration, his gaze growing increasingly intense as he looked to Han Li. You guessed right. I'm only 37 this year. A number that Han Li found utterly unbelievable came from Dr. Mo's mouth. Impossible. Even Han Li, who had always remained composed, was shocked for the first time. Impossible. Indeed, impossible. Anyone who sees me would not think I'm 60. Even if I claimed to be 70 years old, no one would doubt it. Dr. Mo's voice suddenly turned high-pitched and sharp. To Han Li's ears, it was piercing and uncomfortable, as if it had struck a hidden wound in his heart. I, Mo Jiren, once had quite a reputation in the martial world of Lan Prefecture in the Yu Kingdom in my early years, having built a considerable name for myself. With my bare hands, I carve out my own world. Back then, who in Lan Prefecture did not know the fame of my ghost hand? In both the black and white paths, those who obey me live, those who oppose me. Dr. Mo returned to his original tone and slowly narrated his past in a deep voice. As he spoke, a sharp glint like blade and sword flashed in his eyes, as if he had returned to the days when he was full of vigor and held great power. After hearing Dr. Mo's words, Han Li was secretly shocked. He had not expected his nominal master to have such an impressive background. Unfortunately, good times did not last. Just as I entered middle age and was about to further expand my influence, I was schemed against by villains and poisoned by someone I trusted. Although I managed to control the outbreak of the poison with my medical expertise, I could not fully recover. My martial arts were greatly reduced, and I could no longer establish myself locally. Fearing further assassination by my enemies, I had no choice but to abandon my former foundations and family and vanish without a trace, seeking remedies elsewhere in the Yu Kingdom in hopes of restoring my original power. As he recounted his later experiences, he became completely immersed in his memories. His fists clenched tightly, fingernails piercing deep into his palms, blood flowing out, but he seemed completely unaware. His face instead revealed a ferocious, gritted teeth expression of hatred so intense it made one shudder. It was clear he harbored deep, bone-deep enmity toward those who had poisoned him. Sensing the long, seething hatred in his words, Hanli could not help but feel a chill run through his entire body. Providence eventually showed mercy. In a mysterious place, I accidentally obtained a strange book. It was obscure and profound, and I spent tremendous effort to barely understand a portion of it. From it, I found a shortcut to restoring my power. I followed its instructions, and as a result, Dr. M.O. paused, not continuing immediately, but his furious expression and a trace of regret were fully evident. The result is that you ended up like this, aren't you? Hanli coldly finished the sentence he had left unsaid. Correct. I never expected that after following the method in that book, my power was indeed restored, but my body rapidly aged, turning into this half-dead, half-living, neither human nor ghost appearance. Dr. Mo nodded gloomily, showing no anger at Hanli's mockery. You should already have found the reason by now. It is because my method was improper, allowing evil chi to invade my body. Now, every day I live is equivalent to a normal person exhausting 10 days of energy. At every moment, I am overdrawing my life force in large amounts. Fortunately, I am skilled in nourishment and conditioning techniques, and I also refined a secret elixir according to the book's instructions. Only in recent years have I been able to slow the rate of aging and survive until now. I've been practicing this incantation. What does it have to do with solving your trouble? Hanli went straight to the core of the issue without the slightest pretense. Not long after I became like this, I studied the solution from books. It is precisely the longevity art that you cultivate. As long as someone who has reached the 4th level helps me circulate my energy and perform therapeutic manipulation, using eternal spring chi to stimulate the secret acupoints, I can break free from my current predicament and regain the vital essence I have lost. Why must you find me? Can't you just find anyone who practices this incantation? Hanli pondered for a moment and asked the doubt he had long kept in his heart. You think the longevity art can be learned by just anyone? This incantation not only requires the practitioner to start from a young age, but also demands a body with his spiritual root talent. Although I don't know what a spiritual root is, before you I had already found hundreds of children, and none of them could cultivate the longevity art. Dr. M.O. said with an irritated expression, Such a thing exists. Hanli was slightly stunned, not expecting the cultivation of this incantation to be so demanding. In the remaining years, I thought I would never find anyone who could cultivate this incantation again. So I gave up on myself and disguised myself as a wandering Jianghu quack doctor, drifting everywhere. Unexpectedly, I once met the Seven Mysteries sect leader Wang, who had also been ambushed and injured. Out of shared suffering, I saved his life. Then, upon his invitation, I smoothly became an honorary elder of the sect, planning to live out my final days in the mountains under a false identity. Hit. A miracle still happened. At first, I feared my lifelong medical skills and martial arts would be lost, so I brought you all into the valley. I truly intended to take you too as disciples, but for some reason at the time, I somehow became possessed and let you try cultivating the longevity art. It was probably still a gamble in my heart. In truth, even if you couldn't cultivate this incantation, I would still have taken you in and passed down at least a portion of my knowledge. But I never expected that you would actually respond to this art. Truly, there's always a way out. Dr. M.O. revealed all the secrets in one breath, his face flushed with a sickly red, clearly quite proud of his fortune. I haven't even reached the 4th level of the longevity art yet. Why are you restraining me now and revealing all this to me? Hanli finally asked the question he cared about most at present. That is your own fault. I have invested so much effort and energy into you, yet you still cannot satisfy me and keep playing tricks. Now we are only one step away, but you refuse to advance further. Originally, I could have waited 2 more years, but on this trip down the mountain, I was recognized by an old enemy. After a bitter battle, although I killed him, I exhausted my already limited vitality and greatly shortened my lifespan. Even if I exhaust all my strength, I can only extend my life by 1 more year. How can I possibly wait any longer? Dr. Mo's smug expression vanished without a trace, replaced by a face full of viciousness as he roared at Han Li. After hearing this, Han Li's expression remained normal, showing no sign of being shaken. Yet inside, his emotions surged like raging waves. He was far from the calm and confident appearance he showed. He had long anticipated that Dr. Mo harbored deep intentions toward him, but he never imagined the hidden truth to be so vast. The other party's background, experiences, and cultivation incantation, all of it exceeded his imagination. Han Li's mind was in chaos. Fear, regret, and confusion intertwined. Even though he had delayed things until now, he still could not think of a way to escape, and he began to panic. After all, he was still young and could not compare to an old schemer like Dr. Mo. His forced composure, maintaining an unchanged expression, had already been seen through. The faint beads of sweat on his forehead exposed his true state. Dr. Mo did not miss any change in Han Li's expression and was very satisfied with the pressure he had created. He always believed that only when the mind is shaken can one be forced to speak the truth. So you think I've been deliberately slacking off and delaying my cultivation progress? Han Li was stunned by this sudden accusation. Of course. 2 years, and you still haven't reached the 4th level. Do you really think I can't see through your little tricks? You completed the first 3 levels in just 3 years. Even if the 4th level is more difficult and without medicinal assistance, there should not be 0 progress in 2 years. Dr. Mo said coldly, his eyebrows raised in killing intent, clearly harboring long-standing dissatisfaction with Han Li, now finally erupting. It seems no matter how I explain, Dr. Mo will not believe me. Han Li sighed inwardly with a bitter smile. He did not expect that the very cultivation progress he had concealed would become the root cause of the current situation. He had truly lifted a rock only to drop it on his own foot. Whether it was right or wrong to have exposed Dr. Mo's outburst and revealed all these secrets, he no longer knew. Don't say anything more. I don't want to know whether your past deeds are true or false. Listen carefully. Now, I only ask you one question. If I give you another year, can you cultivate the 4th level of the Eternal Spring Art? Dr. Mo let out a cold laugh and slowly spoke the most important words of the day. Then, without even blinking, he fixed his gaze tightly on Han Li, waiting solemnly for his answer. Han Li was fully clear-headed. He knew that the answer to this question not only concerned the other party's life a year later, but was also the key to whether he himself could survive at this moment. You should know very well in your heart that I cannot give you any other answer. Come on, first release my acupoints, Han Li said, his entire body suddenly relaxing, his tone turning light and casual. Hearing his words, Dr. Mo's expression softened, and a hint of approval appeared in his eyes. However, he did not step forward to unseal Han Li's acupoints. Instead, he cautiously took out a finely carved square sandalwood box from his chest. I don't trust words alone. In case you put on a show but do nothing real, refusing to cultivate earnestly, what difference would that be from before? For both our sakes, it's better to add an extra safeguard, he said darkly. Carefully opening the lid, a white pill lay quietly at the center of the box. Dr. Mo reached out and tapped Han Li, unsealing his acupoints. Before Han Li could move, he pushed the box in front of him. You are a smart man. I don't need to say more. You know what to do. Dr. Mo narrowed his eyes, a hint of malice in them. Han Li slightly moved his somewhat numb limbs and, without a word, took the sandalwood box. Using 2 fingers, he gently picked up the pill inside. In front of the other party, without even looking at it, he directly placed it into his mouth and swallowed it. Good, very good. A wise man submits to circumstances. As long as you help me recover, I will not be stingy with my thanks. I won't deceive you with empty words either. There's already a rift between us, so taking you as a true disciple is impossible, but ensuring you a lifetime of wealth and honor is still within my power, Dr. Mo clapped a few times and made a sincere and weighty promise to Han Li. Now tell me the function of this pill, so I don't unknowingly violate any taboos and lose my life, Han Li said expressionlessly, showing no sign of being moved. Hith. This pill is called the corpse worm pill. It is not truly a medicinal pill, but rather worm eggs prepared through a secret method. After you take it, it will lie dormant inside your body for 1 year. Rest assured, within this year, it is absolutely safe and will not affect anything you do. After 1 year, as long as you take the specially prepared antidote, it will dissolve on its own without any hidden harm. But if, after 1 year, no antidote is taken, the worm eggs will have absorbed enough nourishment, hatch, and then devour all your internal organs bit by bit, leaving you to die in unbearable agony, screaming for 3 days and nights before slowly passing away. Dr. Mo spoke casually about the pill's terrifying effects, as if issuing a warning to Han Li. Upon hearing the vicious nature of the pill, Han Li's body trembled slightly, his face turning extremely ugly, almost unable to suppress his anger. But Dr. Mo's final trump card had yet to be revealed. All right, I heard your family has quite a few parents and relatives. I wonder if the silver you send home each month is enough? If not, feel free to ask me. I am quite concerned about your family, Dr. Mo said slowly and meaningfully. Only now did he truly bare his fangs, striking directly at Han Li's fatal weakness. Han Li's face turned ashen. He could no longer maintain the calm, unshaken state of mind described in books. Using his last bit of willpower, he bit his lip tightly, afraid that curses or desperate pleas might escape his mouth. He knew very well that no matter how much he begged or threatened, the other party would never release this greatest leverage. Rest assured, within 1 year, I will definitely cultivate to the 4th level, Han Li said through gritted teeth, enunciating each word, no longer concealing his hatred for Dr. Mo. Under such blatant coercion, he could only submit for the time being. He was not yet able to abandon his family or disregard his parents' lives. Now that his fatal weakness had been seized, Han Li could no longer even consider the thought of mutual destruction. In this first confrontation with Dr. Mo, he had completely lost. After hearing Han Li's submission, Dr. Mo let out a long breath of relief. His own tension was no less than Han Li's, though he had concealed it completely with his shifting expressions. This eternal spring art is truly strange. That brat, so young, is already so hard to deal with. Dr. Mo cursed viciously in his heart, unsure whether it was envy or jealousy. Actually, although the longevity art has a certain effect of cleansing the marrow and enhancing intelligence for cultivators, its actual effectiveness still depends on the individual. Han Li was naturally far more precocious and intelligent than ordinary youths of his age. After cultivating the longevity art, his intellect and scheming ability had already far surpassed that of ordinary teenagers. Han Li turned and walked toward the door. When he reached the entrance, he suddenly turned back and asked the fellow standing behind old Mo, who has not spoken a word all this time, what is his background? Hearing Han Li's sudden question, Dr. Mo gave a slight smile and evaded the answer craftily, saying, "You are so clever. Why don't you guess? I'm sure you can figure it out." Han Li shook his head and walked out of Dr. Mo's house without hesitation. Whether he truly could not guess, or simply did not want to, was unknown. Once outside, Han Li's expression turned gloomy. In this conflict with Dr. Mo, I had no ability to resist at all and was completely subdued. That shows I was still too naive, thinking I could rely on petty cleverness to deal with him. In the end, the painstakingly prepared cylinder of 5 Venom's water didn't even get a chance to be used and was confiscated. I still need to go back and properly think things through, how to strengthen my own strength. Thinking this, he strode toward his residence, clearly unwilling to remain under Dr. Mo's control. Inside the room, Dr. Mo stared dumbfounded at the wooden floor. On it was a bowl-sized blackened hole. Just moments earlier, he had casually tested something from the iron cylinder, and the poisonous liquid sprayed out from within had effortlessly corroded the floor down to its base. Seeing the eerie toxicity of the poison, Dr. M.O. could no longer suppress his lingering fear and jumped up, cursing loudly. "You little bastard! Since when did you learn to make such poison? I never taught you anything like this. I thought it was just ordinary sedative immortal knockout. This damn brat is truly ruthless. Turns on people without hesitation." Unaware that he had already frightened Dr. M.O., Han Li returned to his room and collapsed onto his bed, falling into a deep sleep. After experiencing such a tremendous upheaval that day, both his body and mind were utterly exhausted and urgently needed rest to recover. After fully resting, Han Li slowly woke from his sleep. Sitting up, he looked at the sky. There was a faint whiteness in the east. It seemed he had reached the next morning. He had truly slept a long time. Sitting upright on the bed, Han Li did not get up immediately. Instead, he propped his chin on his hands, elbows resting on his thighs, and began pondering ways to escape Dr. Mo's control. It was clear that within this 1 year, he would be relatively safe. For the sake of his own life, the other party would not harm him, and would instead do everything possible to preserve him. But whether he would still be safe after 1 year was uncertain. There was no need to worry about the longevity art. He had already reached the 4th level a few days earlier, and reaching the 5th level within a year should also be easily achievable. The problem of the corpse worm pill was also manageable. When the time came, he could demonstrate his cultivation progress to the other party and use it as leverage to demand the antidote before treatment, forcing the other party's hand. They likely would not risk offending him over this. Suddenly, Han Li thought of something. He took out a medicine bottle from his body, poured out a green pill, and swallowed it. After a while, when the medicine took effect, he began quietly examining his body internally. Cough! That old ghost emo really didn't lie about the corpse worm pill. Even clear spirit powder, which can neutralize all poisons, is completely ineffective against it. It seems I really will have to wait a full year before obtaining the antidote. Han Li muttered with some frustration. After putting the bottle back into his chest, he got out of bed. Walking around the only table in the room, he paced back and forth with his hands clasped behind his back, continuing to sort through his thoughts. It was clear that Han Li did not fully trust what Dr. M.O. had told him. He knew there must be many falsehoods. Unfortunately, even knowing this, he could not resist due to threats against his family. Han Li was deeply skeptical about whether Dr. M.O. would truly keep his promise after 1 year. If things were really as simple as the other party claimed, it would be easy. There would be no need to resist at all. But what worried him was the possibility that the other party was concealing harmful intentions. If they suddenly turned hostile later, and he had made no preparations, he would have no chance to fight back at all. Han Li thought it over repeatedly, but could not find any good solution. At present, he and Dr. M.O. were mutually wary. The other feared that he would not cultivate properly and waste his life, while he feared that once the other party resolved their concerns, they would strike without hesitation. Originally, he could still use leverage to intimidate the other party and make them cautious. But now that his family had become the other party's leverage against him, he could only act cautiously and reluctantly compromise. Could it be that I really have to entrust my life to the other party's hands, hoping that they will show mercy and spare me when the time comes? Han Li felt somewhat dispirited. No, absolutely not. I can't do that. My fate can never be placed in someone else's hands. Handing everything about myself over to another person to control is the most foolish idea. He immediately rejected this absurd thought. After racking his brains, Han Li still came up with a method that was hardly a method at all. He planned to strengthen his own strength from multiple angles, to find ways to increase his bargaining chips so as to deter the other party. Even if the other side truly made a move against him, he would at least have some means of self-preservation. It was indeed a rather clumsy plan, purely passive defense, allowing the opponent to take the initiative first. But at present, this was the only viable and relatively thorough approach. After making up his mind, Han Li decided to take a walk outside. He pushed open the door, stepped out into the open space, and lazily stretched his body, letting out a yawn. Facing the slightly biting morning wind, and looking at the sun that had already risen halfway, he suddenly felt a surge of boldness. My own fate can only be in my own hands. I will never let anyone else control it.